Good morning and welcome on a Thursday morning to Breakfast Central. As we gradually get to the end of the week, it's one more day before we call it a wrap of this week. Thank you for staying through with us right from Monday up until today. Today we have some of the biggest stories to look around, talking about some of the biggest political stories here in Nigeria. I am Olive, EMODI.
And I am OSAROGIE, OGBONMWAN. Remember, you can join us at any time during the show. The phone lines will be available. Share your thoughts with us on any of the conversations that we're having, including, during the newspaper review sometime around 8 a.m. this morning. We also have Mazino, who's going to be sharing with us breakfast headlines. Good morning, Mazino.
Good morning, guys. Got a question for you guys. Did you guys see the show on Saturday and Sunday?
Well, congratulations on Breakfast Extra, if that's what you're waiting to hear. It was a very good outing. Well done to you, Auntie Judith. It was very good. I love the energy.
Thank you very much.
Yes, well done and congrats.
Yeah, we're looking forward to another one this weekend. In fact, this is the start of our week for us here. While you guys are commenting about the week almost running out, we're just getting started. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Well, it's a good thing. I mean, at least Nigerians have something to also catch up on with news and politics over the weekend. Let's quickly ask, as always, what is the biggest story that you've seen in the last 24 hours, across the country?
Well, you have to admit that while everybody is talking about the Ganduje instance, there's also the very, very relative instance of the abuse of the Naira. Everybody's concerned as to exactly how these judgments are going, whether it's whether you're rich and famous or whether you're just absolutely normal. We're also going to be taking a look at that inside of this weekend's program and trying to get a critical view on exactly how these rulings are going when it comes to Cubana High Priest and maybe even Bobrisky. So you could join us then as well.
All right. I mean, very interesting what we've seen there. I think the difference between his case and Bobrisky's case was with Bobrisky, he pleaded guilty, so straight to the point. Exactly. It was either of the options of the punitive measures that were available by the CBN Act or provided for by the CBN Act that the judge had to employ. But in the case of Cubana, EFCC is going to have a long way proving, what they saw. What the onus now lies on he who affirms or he who is alleging that there has been a breach somewhere. But of course, we'll be following up with these stories.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Headlines on News Central TV. My name is Mazino Appeal. We begin the news in Nigeria, where the group of 60, that's G60, People's Democratic Party lawmakers in the 10th National Assembly on Wednesday said that the resignation of the party's former national chairman, Iyorchia Ayu, has nailed the coffin of the fate of the embattled acting national chairman, Umar Damagun. They commended Ayu for withdrawing a lawsuit he instituted against the party, noting that the action had made Damagun refuse to step down until the withdrawal of all cases paved the way for him to hand over the North Central. According to the G60 PDP federal lawmakers led by Honorable Ikenga Ugochinyere Ideato, House of Reps, Ayu's actions has removed the last bottleneck and excuse given by Damagun to hang on to power and open the expressway without any excuse for Damagun to revert to his position as deputy chairman. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has granted the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission permission to arrest the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello. Preparatory to his arraignment on Thursday, Justice Emeka Nwete granted the warrant on Wednesday at the instance of the EFCC. Earlier, a high court sitting in Lokoja, Kogi State capital had restrained the EFCC from infringing on the fundamental human rights of the former Kogi State governor. The National Working Committee of the ruling All Progressive Congress APC has reacted to the order of the Kano State High Court, which affirmed the suspension of its national chairman, Alhaji Abdullahi Ganduje, describing it as a nullity and unenforceable and therefore cannot be obeyed. The development came on Wednesday as Ganduje received the APC ward executives from his Ganduje ward in Kano State, who were at the National Secretariat of the party to affirm their confidence in him. Addressing the ward executive, Ganduje said those who purportedly suspended him were imposters.
The history behind it is that the NMPP, they have noticed that since they came into office about 1 year now, they have committed so many mistakes, a lot of maladministration, and they have started seeing the writing on the wall that come 2027, they are doomed to fail as a political party and as a government. Kano State produced the highest votes for Mr. President to win the national election. Now the NNPP has decided to take these measures so that they can weaken the party and ensure that ensure that our president, Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, does not get the anticipated landslide victory come 2027.
Moving on now to East Africa. A Kenyan court has ordered doctors and the government to reach an agreement within 48 hours to end a nationwide strike that is now in its 5th week. Labour Court Judge Briam Ongaya said the National Doctors Union and the government must immediately convene a meeting without conditions and conclude a written return to work formula not later than close of Friday. The government of Burundi and the United Nations have launched an appeal for financial aid to cope with the devastating effects of months of relentless rainfall that has displaced nearly 100,000 people. Burundi, which the UN says is one of the 20 countries most vulnerable to climate change, has been pelted by almost non-stop rains since September, with its main city of Bujumbura ravaged by floods. In Central Africa, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, has paid a visit to camps for internally displaced persons in the northeast of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. During his 3-day visit, Volker would have a series of meetings with human rights defenders and civil society organizations, as well as with President Felix Tshisekedi and members of the government. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Back to you, Osas and Olive.
All right, thank you very much, Mazino. Interesting stories. There seems to be chaos or one level of chaos or the other going on in the APC. Luckily, we're going to have a conversation, that might be surrounding that this morning. But what do you think might be going on? It's happening with Yahaya Bello, it's happening with the former Kano State governor, also happening with Nasser El-Rufai. Of course, what's your interpretation as to what might be playing out with the party?
Well, the word interpretation is actually very, very big on my table now this morning regarding the different chaos, like you put it in quote, going on in the different parties, not just the APC. It seems to be like some sort of internal restructuring before we get to, well, maybe the elections for the next time. And this is something that I guess that should be expected when it comes to politics in any case, whether people cross carpet, whether people have grievances with their leadership. It's all going to be ironed out eventually. But, however, does this instill faith in these individual parties, especially in this case the APC, from the followers? Well, it's left to be seen, and we await to see how much of our fate remain in each of these parties.
Counsel to the embattled leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, earlier, or sometime yesterday, kicked against the continuation of the trial of the controversial leader over a lack of confidential access to their client. This was as they appealed to President Bola Tinubu to compel security agencies to ensure that they play by the rules and ensure the judicial process stays its course without unnecessary interference with the process. Amadine Uyi reports.
It was another day in court for the embattled leader of the indigenous peoples of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. There was a high security presence at the court, as persons whose names were not on a written list were not allowed into the court premises. As the trial commenced before Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court, counsel to the defense called for an adjournment of the trial, saying the Department of State Services has refused confidential access to their client.
The prosecution was forcing a situation on the court today that trial should continue or should proceed today. But our position was this, which comports with the law, that we have not had any opportunity. We have made this very clear. It is not about having access to our client. We do have access, but our access is monitored. hampered to the point that we are unable to discuss with him within that zone of confidentiality that is guaranteed between a lawyer and his client, and that enhances the defense we shall prepare to properly defend him against charges that carry the death penalty.
It's so painful that since 9 years, going on almost to 10 years, that we're still on the issue of giving him right to fair hearing. And I must salute the courage displayed by his lawyers in court today, because he wanted to force them into hearing and say you're going to rule on the issue of right to fair hearing. So when you rule on that, what happens to the trial that you have commenced? So it's very painful, and I see this is very unfair.
Though the prosecution counsel urged the court to dismiss the application on the grounds that the reasons given by the defense team were not tenable, the trial judge obliged their request, giving them about 10 minutes to consult with their clients. They urged government to allow the trial stay its course within the confines of the law.
At this juncture, I will continue to call on the president to exercise his constitutional power and then issue knowledge through the Attorney General so that we can bring this thing to an end and open the door for reconciliation and peace building in the Southeast.
The trial judge warned the defense counsels to take the trial seriously, or the trial will be adjourned indefinitely. She, however, obliged to their request and adjourned the trial to May the 20th. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Very interesting there, but I think it's important to mention that it's maybe particular to Nigeria. I haven't studied cases in other parts of the world, where a person can be going back and forth, to court for years, and I feel like at some point that might even be an infringement on the person's rights. These continuous postponement or adjournments of a court case that takes years. You waste 5, 6, 7, 8 years of your life with continuous adjournments of your court case. It's no different from those who are, of course, in correctional facilities awaiting trial, for 5, 6, 7 years. There's almost no difference. And the government resources that are put into continuous adjournment and holding a person for years, those things, really must change. And I'm hoping that the new administration understands, well, not just the new administration, but at least the whole of the judiciary with the current administration understands that these are some aspects that must be fixed. Because we can't keep living like we're in the Stone Age, postponing or rather adjourning a trial for years.
Absolutely.
Year in, year out, we are adjourning with different excuses. Infringement by the DSS, it's such a mess.
It's so many layers to the conversation. When we're looking at fair hearing, what does fair hearing actually entail? Fair hearing does entail representation. Representation from his lawyers would be that they have access to him, access that is not, in this case, is not controlled as it should be. And it's not like what they're asking for is something out of the norm. His counsel had made reference to the fact that this had happened before in the Dasuki case, in El Zakzaki case, how they were granted house arrest. So they're not asking that you, they're not asking for something ridiculous. Place him on house arrest so he can have unfettered access to his lawyers to enable him adequately prepare for his case. But, that has been refused. What they're asking, they haven't even gotten to trial. They can't even start trial because it's bail application upon bail application. The counsel, the prosecution counsel, Mr. Aromolo, he's an SAN. He's coming out to say that they have turned down the bail application 3 times. So if they've turned down the bail application 3 times, the court should know that them listening to a fresh bail application will mean that they are giving appeal on an earlier judgment of theirs. So it's just so much drama and chaos, and it seems that they're trying to use the instruments of the law against him. But many people would agree that if you look at it and the merits of the case, he's not asking. The only reason why he broke bail in the first instance was because his family was attacked, his home was attacked. And the first time that he was granted bail, they were attacked, and you don't expect someone to then stay at home when his life is at threat of being taken. How else would he come and defend himself in court? So, we'll be following up with that story, and as we get more updates, we'll bring it. It's been adjourned to the 20th of May, and we'll bring more updates regarding that story. Now, let's move away from there to another one. Months after the tenure of the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Iyorchia Ayu, the operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, had on Wednesday barricaded his Abuja home to make arrests. The agency had, in a new count, accused Mr. Bello of money laundering, breach of trust, and misappropriation of funds to the tune of 84 billion naira.
The EFCC operatives, however, retreated shortly after the sitting governor, Usman Ododo, came to his aid by whisking him away from his besieged residence. Our reporter, Edong Joseph, has more.
Operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission had stormed the Abuja residence of the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Iyorchia Bello. The operatives, who arrived at about 9:30 a.m., armed to the teeth to arrest him, however, met a heavy resistance. The episode became more dramatic as supporters of the embattled governor booed the operative, while his security details denied them access into the residence. On hearing of the siren, the incumbent governor of Kogi State arrived at about 2 p.m. with more security personnel to support his political godfather. The governor, after spending over 2 hours with his predecessor, left the venue with rumors that he has sneaked him out of the vicinity.
For operatives of the anti-graft agency, it was a futile 8 hours wait. With no sign of arresting Iyorchia Bello, they left the vicinity, not accomplishing their objective.
It is still unclear if the recent ordeal is connected to the allegations by the anti-graft agency, bordering on the mismanagement of about 84 billion naira funds belonging to the Kogi State government. However, what is now public knowledge is that Iyorchia Bello is a wanted man by the commission. In Abuja for News Central, I am Edong Joseph.
Thank you very much, Edong Joseph, for that package. The EFCC has now given an update. I will take the press release that the EFCC put out shortly. But joining us this morning to discuss this is Imibehe Effiong. He's a legal practitioner and human rights activist. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, the EFCC has put out a press statement, obviously expressing their displeasure as to what has happened without naming names. But I'd like to ask you what you make of this situation where the sitting governor whisked, in those exact words, whisked away the immediate past governor. What do you make of all this drama and how the message that it's sending to Nigerians?
It is very embarrassing and utterly appalling to find Ododo, the incumbent governor of Kogi State, basically interfere with the exercise of the mandate of the commission. He had no business being at the Iyorchia Bello's house yesterday. He had no business going there to disrupt the EFCC from carrying out his statutory responsibility. What he has done is a criminal offense under the EFCC Act, for which he can be prosecuted upon the expiration of his tenure. It is also quite baffling that they are claiming that Iyorchia Bello hasn't done anything, and yet all this braggadocio is being put in to ensure that he does not have his day in court. The people of Kogi State deserve an account of Bello's stewardship. They want to know how the billions that came into the treasury of the state was spent during his tenure. Nigerians are not unaware of how disastrous Bello was as governor. We're not unaware of his shenanigans and brigandage. We're not unaware of the electoral malfeasance that characterized his tenure. We are not unaware of the culture of recklessness, the culture of high-handedness that Iyorchia Bello, brought to bear under his administration. So if EFCC wants to arrest him and they have a warrant of arrest, why is he not surrendering himself? Why is he resisting arrest since he claims he hasn't done anything? And to have a saving governor of the state who took an oath to uphold the law, to respect the law, go and act in this manner is an embarrassment to the country. How many citizens of, how many indigenes or residents of Kogi State will Governor Ododo go to prevent the arrest by the police or by the EFCC? Is Bello the only person from that state that is wanted by the anti-graft agencies or by other law enforcement agencies? So will the governor now go ahead and apply the same protection to him? But I also fault the EFCC with the in the respect of the embarrassment that took place yesterday, because they should not have allowed him access into that property. They should have blocked his convoy. Nothing would have happened. They should have blocked him. They should have prevented his convoy from accessing that property. His immunity as the governor does not extend to commission of crime. It does not extend to preventing law enforcement agencies from carrying out their responsibilities. It does not extend to displaying this kind of irresponsibility, this embarrassing attitude that he put up yesterday. So for the commission to just allow this to happen, and then they let it slide, and then come subsequently to even issue a very cowardly statement, in a statement where they were not even courageous enough to name Yahya, the governor by name, and condemn the role that he played. I find it very cowardly. I don't know why the commission chose that path, but they will have to account for that themselves. I want to put it on record that I'm not satisfied by the manner that the commission handled the matter.
Yeah, I also saw a response by Yahya Bello asking that President Bola Tinubu step in, so, and of course, rein in the EFCC so not to throw the nation into anarchy. He claims that there is a court judgment from a high court in Kogi State on the 9th of February prohibiting the EFCC from arresting him and of course, carrying out a prosecution. So quickly react to that one. Is there still that court ruling that was given on the 9th of February? If not, what is the EFCC acting on exactly? And of course, we remember that Governor Ondo pledged his full loyalty to Yahya Bello after he was sworn in. We saw the videos of him kneeling down to greet Yahya Bello. We've seen these things, so it's not necessarily shocking to see him act as Batman in Abuja yesterday. But go ahead.
Firstly, what is President Tinubu's business with the arrest of Yahya Bello? In what capacity is the president going to intervene? What is he talking about? We see EFCC carry out Gestapo arrests on a regular basis. We have seen the commission invade hotels. We have seen the commission invade people's residences. Sometimes they will even break down rooms of hotels, beat up guests, arrest Nigerians when they believe they have committed a crime. As Tinubu intervened in all those cases. So what is he talking about? The president has no business in that matter. So asking the president to intervene, and you can even imagine the disgraceful, hyperbole to say that it will lead to anarchy in Nigeria. Who is Yahya Bello? His thuggish regime in Kogi State has ended. Whatever ring of power they have, it's limited to Kogi State. To now threaten the entire country on the basis of your illegality, on the basis of your unwillingness to submit to law, is just laughable. As I said, I blame EFCC for what happened yesterday. When the governor came, they should have turned him back. They should have asked him to go back. They should have reinforced and take those security men attached to him into custody. They should have arrested them, put them under custody, and let us see how that was going to play out. But this is a country where politics trump law. This is a country where impunity prevails, over the process. Again, they claim that they have a court order. Did the court say Yahya Bello, upon the expiration of the tenure, is perpetually immune from prosecution, even if there is evidence of commission of crime against him? Did the court say that even if there is a warrant of arrest for Yahya Bello, that warrant cannot be executed? What is the court judgment about? No court in Nigeria can prevent the EFCC from prosecuting Yahya Bello. It is a matter that has been settled by the Supreme Court over the years. There are litany of cases on this. The case of Nyame and Federal Republic of Nigeria, the case of Kalu, former governor of Abia State and Federal Republic of Nigeria. There are so many cases on the point where the Supreme Court has clearly made taken the position that you cannot stop EFCC from carrying out the statutory responsibility. This so-called immunity that they have derived from the Constitution, 300 of the Constitution, it terminates upon the expiration of the tenure of the governor. So to now want to continue to shield him from prosecution will amount to extension of immunity beyond the constitutional timeline. And that cannot be tolerated.
Right.
And the action that he filed in court was for the enforcement of his fundamental rights. I had asked the question, because I have not seen the judgment, which of his fundamental rights have been violated? Which of the fundamental rights? You can correct me, I don't know if he has been arrested and detained previously. Which of his fundamental rights have been violated? Is it fundamental right for being called upon to come and render account of the stewardship of Kogi State? Yahaya Bello has to face trial. Yahaya Bello is going to face trial, and nothing. There is no other way about it. There are no two ways about it. He must appear in court to answer for the charges that have been filed against him, in line with precedents set by the Supreme Court that EFCC has the right to prosecute anybody that they have a case against.
All right. Now, having spoken to Yahaya Bello and the need for him to appear before the court, let's talk about Usman Ododo for a bit. The EFCC had released the press statement stating that Section 38, subsection 2 of the EFCC Establishment Act provides that no person should be able to, not the exact words, but no one should be able to prevent the EFCC from carrying out its duties. And in this case, they're liable to 5 years imprisonment. We know that currently the governor is protected by the Constitution until the expiration of the duration of his time as governor. From what you know, from what you've seen in past precedents, can you say for certain that this is a case that the EFCC will look into upon the expiration of his term as governor?
I believe a potential crime was committed yesterday by Usman Ododo, who has undoubtedly and undisputably made himself a clown, who has also gone publicly to pledge his allegiance and loyalty to his predecessor. You can see how these individuals, how these characters have bastardized democracy in our country. That you will have a governor kneel before his predecessor, and in one of the videos I saw, he was even telling people to continue to refer to Yahaya Bello as former governor or whatever. You can imagine. But who is surprised that he will go to do that? Who is surprised? We all know how Ododo became governor. We know the sham election that took place in Kogi State. We know that in truth there was no election in Kogi State, of course subject to the decision of the tribunal eventually. But we know what happened. Even for the petitioners who went to the tribunal to challenge this election, they even did not allow them to inspect matters. We know the culture of electoral malfeasance in Kogi State. It is not new to us. So being a beneficiary of that sham that Yahaya Bello played a role in, it is not surprising that he's not trying to please his godfather. Nigerian governors have made it a culture to impose their stooge as successors. And it is exactly for reasons such as this. Because this is not new, do not forget. This is not new. This is not new. We have seen this happen before. We have seen this kind of drama before. It once happened in my home state, Akwa Ibom. It happened in my home state once, Akwa Ibom, when the EFCC had cause to go to the government house, right, over a report that some arms or monies were being stockpiled, and then the governor physically, prevented them from doing so. We have seen this in similar cases. This is not the first instance. The precedent has been set in the past, but the point I'm making is that it is exactly for seasons like this, it is exactly for instances like this, that you find governors want to go to the extreme to impose their stooges as successors, so that when they leave, they cannot be probed, they cannot be questioned. This is not isolated. This is not limited to Kogi State. In my home state, Akwa Ibom, we also had a former governor, Ondo Emmanuel, who had to also use the court to prevent EFCC from prosecuting the past administration and his own administration. So this has happened all over the country, that governors, when they leave, they want to ensure that whoever is coming in will cover their criminality, will cover all the atrocities that they committed. So I believe that when his tenure has expired, when his vote of office has lapsed, EFCC should call him in for questioning regarding the role he played today, and then possibly file charges against him for obstructing the commission from exercising his statutory mandate. This is a case that is tribal in law. I do not see how the governor can defend what he did yesterday, particularly when there is a subsisting charge against the Yahaya Bello at the Federal High Court in Abuja, Honorable Justice Wite, for which a warrant of arrest was said to have been issued. EFCC has the right to execute that warrant. But the other aspect of this is that Yahaya Bello was given a preferential treatment because of his status as a former governor. In other cases, EFCC would have even broken into that premises and taken it.
Yeah,
right?
I think we saw that happen.
The commission is this gentle, and professional in the manner that they carry out their responsibilities. We have seen what they have done in other cases.
Yeah. Nibeha, I mean, I described it earlier as a show of shame, yesterday, but I'm hoping that the current EFCC chairman, Olukoyede, and others Still, of course, understand what their responsibilities are. We would see where this case leads. He is still meant to be arraigned today, I believe, and we would, of course, like to have you join us to, of course, discuss further details as things unfold. Thank you very much for your time this morning, and we look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brilliant. And, of course, now moving away from the Federal Capital Territory and, of course, the drama concerning the former Kogi State governor, let's move to Ondo State now, where under the banner of Vanguard for Good Governance, leaders of the All Progressive Congress in Ondo State have protested to President Bola Tinubu about the party's primary election procedures not being followed. According to a statement released in Akure by their spokesperson, Evangelist Tadeojo, the non-compliance would scuttle the smooth conduct of the primary elections on Saturday. The primary election for the governor has been scheduled for this Saturday by the party.
The national leadership of the party has vetted 16 candidates to compete in the indirect primary format. However, the coordinator of the group, Tadeojo, in a statement alleged that the delegate congress, which was scheduled to hold on Monday, was not held by the party officials that were sent from the national secretariat of the party to conduct the exercise. He declared that the national officers allegedly violated the party's guidelines in a bid to rig the forthcoming primary in favor of Governor Iyorchia Ayu. Joining us this morning to look into this is the Director of Contacts and Engagements, Iyorchia Ayu Campaign Organization, Dr. Charles Marindoti. Good Oludari. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Adi. Good morning, Sarge. Thanks for having me.
All right, good morning. We'd like you to clarify what exactly is happening in Ondo State and with the APC. Is it safe to say that it is a party that is divided within itself and that cannot stand? There have been allegations of printing of fake slips and giving to people who are not members of the APC. So can you please confirm what exactly is the drama going on in the APC?
Thank you very much. Truthfully, first off, it's impossible. The primaries, the membership of APC has been closed for a while now, so new people cannot even come and join the party. So there's no issue of importing these people. It is party members who fulfill their financial responsibilities to the party that are allowed to that are allowed to vote in this primary election. And you also mentioned just now that they complained about not having a delegate congress. Well, we understand that there are two types of primaries according to the electoral act, right? Direct and indirect. So if you are doing indirect, you are going to want to have a set of delegates. So you have delegate congress. But when you are doing a direct primary, that is to say a truly democratic primary that is representative of all the intention of all the card carrying members of a party, there is no need for a delegate congress. It is anybody that has a party card that has been verified that will vote in their ward, and that is what APC had announced for a very long time that they are practicing. They said they are alleging fake result, or then they should bring the evidence. This is a crime that can be easily prosecuted if you find someone with fake result or writing numbers. What I can simulate this to is the way I used to act as a 5-year-old whenever I'm playing football with my brother. I'll go and run to meet my mother that my brother was cheating me. He punched me in the face. He made my goalpost wider, whereas I was just losing the game. And so it's just a bunch of kindergartners crying foul for no just reason. I read all the allegations that they are making. To me, I didn't see any point in it. That's what I can say. The issue they have is that the people. I was on this program during the whole issue with Governor Ideato and how he became, the governor. No, the issue is that the people supported him. The people have a sympathy for him. The people love him. You should see the campaign, the fanfare everywhere he goes. So they know that he is the number one and he is most likely going to win. So they are trying to stand in front of a moving train and they are getting railroaded. So they are crying baby. They are trying to cry foul even before the game has started, before the umpire blows the whistle. So all these things are just a bunch of shenanigans. If they have the people support, whoever they are supporting, if that person has the support of the people, then let that person go and face a direct primary. Face all the card-carrying members of APC. Let them vote for them or not for you to be trying to look for a way to get a delegate congress so that you can cherry pick the people that and then they can vote for you. So to me, they are the ones that are trying to look for, what Yoruba people call OGBONMWAN, like a cunning way to get the party ticket. Governor Ideato is the front runner, is the lover, is the one that the people love. In those states, the banter is Mofe Lucky. When you ask them, Mofe Lucky, they'll say, I want Lucky. I am lucky to have Lucky. Everybody is lucky in those states that we have a man that is cool, calm, collected, that is already investing in the future of the Ondo State child to potentiate them for the jobs of the future, that is already investing in the healthcare of Ondo State, the welfare. There are so many things that this man is already doing. A man who listens to the people. He is one of us. So he is a man like them, a man whose story is from grass to grace. His father was poor, his mother was poor. He rose from the ashes of poverty and penury. He has grown these roses of success. So this is the man that the people have embraced in Ondo State, and the other guys are just, from my own opinion, just crying foul for no reason. They can't even prove the allegations they are making.
Yeah, can you clarify? Was that meant to be a delegates' congress or not?
From what I have heard since for months now, there was not meant to be a delegate congress because it was a direct primary. So that is to say, direct primary, according to the Electoral Act, all card-carrying members of the party will just go and vote. Delegate congress is that you are putting a few people in the room and then you want to select those who are going to now participate in the primary. So even from hearing that, which one looks more representative of the will of the party members of the of APC? It is a direct primary where there is no such thing as delegate congress. There is no cherry picking. The leaders should not be picking their voters. The voters should pick their leaders. In a delegate congress, the leaders are attempting to pick their voters. In a direct primary, which is what APC wants to do, which is what I have always been an advocate for, the people, the voters, are trying to pick their leaders, which is how democracy should work. So this delegate congress that they are saying is just a bunch of smoke screen that they are using to distract the people, and they are looking for an Hail Mary pass from the president, which is the leader of the country. He is not going to wade into such inanities, in my own opinion. So there's no plan. There was never a plan for a delegate congress. It was a direct primary where everybody who is a card-carrying member, and not new members, people who have been a member for about a year. So it is not that anybody can sneak anybody into the party at this point. So it is all the card-carrying members in Ondo State APC that will vote in that election, and they know that all the card-carrying members, the majority of the people in Ondo State, if we had a good polling system, Governor Ideato's approval rate will be in the 80s, because people just love him. They love the fact that he was steadfast, how we fought for them, how we navigated the whole, shenanigans back all through last year. They love the work he has been doing too. They love his persona. They love his calmness, his focus.
Okay, is there also are you saying that there is, you did say that a number of the people there are crying foul, and you made reference to the kindergarten cry, but would you say that there is no sense, truth, or logic whatsoever to the complaints that a number of them have raised about the revalidation exercise carried out by carried out for the existing members, saying that some of the members are yet to receive their their tickets or their cards, yes, their party cards. So would you say that there's no sense to that argument? Or that
if they have a true complaint about specific people who are yet to revalidate their party members or renew their membership and all. Even a lot of the aspirants had to do this whole process during the screening. Some of them didn't even have party cards and all of that. So if that is the problem, and these are their voters that they know, then they can work with their ward member at that local level and solve the problem between now and Saturday. Not for them to start crying foul when you have not even started. What effort did they make to help those people validate their membership so that they can qualify? Are they the ones trying to smuggle people who were, if at all, not members of APC into the primaries, and now because they are not allowed to, they are now trying to call call the witch is trying to call the child the witch or something that they are trying to project? Is this a projection that they are trying to do? Because if there is an issue that looks like a local issue that can be resolved. It is a part of your get your vote out strategy. You have 10 people in a ward, go and meet them, help them revalidate their what's it called. It is not just, and also I don't think, like I said, it is people who have been a members and who have paid their dues for a while. So this is something that is so simple, is so local, that should not have warranted any form of press conference or smearing or trying to name the governor. I think that's why he's not the only one in the race. He's not even the only one with an office in the race. We have the Senator Jimo Ibrahim also in the race. So why did they isolate or identify Governor Ideato as the person who is supposedly behind all of this? The simple thing is, if they have a true claim of people who are having issues revalidating their party membership, they should take it with their ward members. Governor Ideato cannot be in charge of all the over, maybe 900 wards or so in Ondo State. So they can take it at that local level, solve that problem, and get their voters to come out to vote. But they can't do that because it is so it is like too much water and gari to not make eba. So they are trying to smear. They are trying to throw the mud and trying to make people start to doubt the outcome of the election even before the election started, which is quite frankly shameful. It is disgraceful. Well, we want a party whereby after the election, people will come together and focus on the main election.
Yeah, I just want to quickly share that there was a delegates congress. The APC's publicity secretary in Ondo State, Alex Kalejaye, I beg your pardon, made mention that there was a delegates congress, on Monday. It was only just delayed. So the complaints being made by this group are seemingly valid. They feel like they were locked out or left out of the delegates congress. Kalejaye says that there was a delegate. Your argument is that there was no delegates congress, but there actually was a delegates congress that was held on Monday. The publicity secretary of your party says that it was simply delayed because of late arrival of party officials and whatnot. But there obviously are discrepancies with regards to the conduct of that Congress, and maybe that's where these issues are arising from. So I want you to quickly speak on, that, and then also, Governor Ideato, yes, you've, painted this image that he is the favorite for the people of Ondo State because of how well he's performed and how he handled the process before. But is the APC itself united in this state? There seem to be these internal squabbles. And who do you think might be sponsoring the crisis within the party in the state? Maybe because they just don't like Governor Ideato's face.
No, what's it called? In terms of the delegate congress, well, what I read was that they said the party members, the party leaders absconded or something, were absent from the venue of the delegate congress across the state. So, and I know that from my experience with primaries in Ondo State, when they are going to use indirect primaries, they hold the delegate congress. From there, they pick their delegates and then they go and vote. So maybe the delegate congress was held. Maybe, I don't know the details, the nitty-gritty of that actually. So, but if they had held the delegate congress, they also need to be specific about what's going on. But, Governor Ideato became the governor just.
I just thought it was important to mention it, because you stated clearly that there was no delegates congress. The APC, does direct primaries, and so there's, if you're speaking for the party and, of course, defending or speaking, or countering, rather, the accusations by this group, then at least you should have known that there was a delegates congress that was held on Monday. But go ahead.
Yeah. So, yes, I didn't have that fact that there was a delegate congress. I just knew that for a direct primary, a delegate congress was not going to be an essential part of it. But what I was saying is that we all know that Governor Ideato just got to the path to power in November. Prior to that, there were a lot of people who had their ambitions out already. As a matter of fact, all the attacks he got during that period was as a result of his supposed ambition that was not even made known at the time. So you don't expect the party to just, all the other candidates, all those who have had ambitions to just roll over. They want to compete. They want to contest. So, and APC encourages that. APC is not divided. It's just a few people, and that's why you see that majority of the leading candidates, not just majority, the leading candidates in this race, you don't see them coming out to say all these things because they fancy their own chances and they are working on getting their votes. I just know that based on the word on the street, based on the feeling of the people, based on the affection of the people, it is for Governor Ideato. So the party Governor Ideato is an incumbent running for the first time, which is not a common thing. Most often when an incumbent is running, he's been in power for 4 years. He's already the established party leader, so it seldom gets internal challenges, and even when there are internal challenges to his re-election in the primaries, it is often very weak. But he is the new person. Some people had even announced their their intentions even before he became governor. So you can't expect those people or people who have been running for decades, you can't expect them to roll over right now because Governor Ideato is the governor. So we expect a free and fair primaries. The APC will make the primary. Ondo State is a decent state. We are made up of decent people. People will conduct themselves in good, appropriate manner during that election. And let us see, let the voters vote, let the votes be counted. If there are any allegations, get the evidence, and it is easy, you take it to court, and you are going to, once you get the evidence, you get to take it to court, you are going to have your day, you are going to have your say. But you cannot be preempting what has not even occurred yet when you don't have your evidences. If you have evidences, keep gathering them. But what I'm saying is it is going to be a smooth primary. APC is not divided. Everybody have their ambition. I even saw one of the aspirants, DIKK, make a say on another channel that is the Southwest coordinator. He is going to support whoever the party nominee is. There are so many. All the top candidates have said. Majority of them have said, at least that I've heard, that they are going to support whoever APC is. During a contest, people are going to contest against each other. They might say some things that are unseemly, but after the party is always a family affair. Brothers fight, tongue and the teeth will fight, but they always settle and enjoy a nice meal together. So it is not, whatever is going on right now is nothing at all. It's just a little bit of air and they're just competition. And after the competition, once the winner is declared, everybody goes back to handshake and they work seriously for the victory of the party, because that's the most important. Continue the good work.
Okay, now that the political season is upon us, some have said that Governor Ideato has pushed politics to the front seat and, as usual, governance to the back seat. And I say that because, of course, everyone is preparing for elections. He is preparing for elections. And you speak so highly of him. So what are some of the things that you will say in the short time that Governor Ideato has been in office? What are some of the things you would say he has done? I mean, you've talked about how he's the choice of the majority. What makes Governor Iyorchia Ayu, in your opinion, what are the practical things he has done that makes him the choice of the majority?
Well, there are some obvious things that he has done that I would just quickly mention, like the payment of arrears or salaries and all. But those are things that I'm sure you will say any government should do, right? But I'll give you a story about my Ondo State. Ondo State has not employed teachers for about 16 years. The last time they employed teachers was 2016. During that period, teachers like my mother and so many other teachers have retired. This is something that has had negative effect on these children in Ondo State. For decades, we have people sometimes 13, 12 years old who went through primary school but still cannot read letters of the alphabet. Governor Ideato got in, he focused on that, he is in the process of employing 2,000 teachers, 1,000 in the primary school, 1,000 in secondary school. This is the salient investment in the future of the average Ondo State child to equip them with the skills they need for the jobs of today and the future. Also, he has also started, the investment into all these, skill acquisition, technical schools, because we know that there is a dearth of skilled artisans in Nigeria in general. So he's trying to make Ondo State the hub of skill to supply to the Nigerian market. There's also the issue of, the healthcare workers that he has also employed. These are one of the things that he has done. There's also the issue of the infrastructure, the little bit infrastructure takes time, definitely, but he has done a little bit of that even in this short period. So when you look at the kinds of investments that he is making and the plans he has for the security, how to use technology to harness education delivery, how to use technology to harness healthcare delivery in the remote area so that everybody is carried along, what he is trying to do in terms of the electrification of the southern part of Ondo State, some parts which have not even seen electricity for years. It might be difficult for people to know, to believe. But these are some of the very salient things that he has been doing that is already bringing succor to people in Ondo State. I mean, 3 months is a short time in the life of any administration or any government, right? So we can all be modest about what we can expect for him to have done. But from the few steps he has taken, you can see where his heart is. You can see that he's thinking about prosperity and the success of the average Ondo State child.
The parts of Ondo State that you say hadn't had electricity for years, this was inclusive of the years when he was deputy governor.
Yes, exactly. And, it is, we all know how the political system works in Nigeria. Deputy governors are essentially, quote unquote, spare tires. And so, it's not like he's going to not take responsibility for it, but now he's at the helm of the affairs and he's, taking charge. He's working because essentially the problem with that region, he was the one that actually said it, is that the distributors don't have a way of recouping. So he's trying to invest in, prepaid meters so that those people can have a way of, getting the electricity they consume recorded, and then the suppliers can start supplying them. This is something that should have been done. Yes, it is shameful. I'm not even in government, and I am ashamed that there's a part of my state that does not have electricity for a while. But this is someone that, yes, he was the deputy governor, but you can all assume how much power he had, even when he was acting governor. But these are someone that have gotten to the mantle of power, and he is making salient plans, detailed discussions, important conversations to solve that problem. It is better late than never, right? So we can say it is late, but at least this is someone who is taking it seriously, and he is going to solve it.
All right. Dr. Charles Marin Doti Oludare, good morning again. Thank you once again for joining us, and wish you a wonderful rest of the day. And the APC in Ondo State, hopefully you find the unity that is currently lacking so that you can leave our president to govern the country and not come and meddle in Ondo State matters.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
All right. If you're just All right, welcome to Breakfast Central. Now we look through the front pages and see what stories are making headlines today. And we begin with the Daily Independent newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Independent, we can see the big story there. Nigeria unattractive with high visa, $170 biometric fees, according to experts. And I think that this is a very important story to talk about, because if you look at the exorbitant fees, exorbitant cost of a lot of these applications, it's very mind-blowing to see how much Nigerians have to pay to be able to travel abroad. I mean, going to the UK for a 2-year visa is $524 US. Like it, OSAROGIE says it's cheap. Okay, you find something for me, Abi. I must really applaud countries that return. There's a country I can't remember now. I think it's Japan. I'm not sure. But they return your money if the visa is denied. That's very honorable, beautiful. And it's still on the front page, PDP NEC, we won't allow marauders factionalize our party, governors warn. North Central perfect plan to name national chairman. 13,000 megawatts for 200,000 megawatts demands unacceptable. According to Obi, says Nigeria has the lowest per capita wattage in the world. Dangote refinery crashing of diesel price excites Tinubu. Court to rule on Nnamdi Kanu's plea seeking restoration of bail May 20th. Stakeholders task insurance regulator operators on image of sector. Mass unemployment. Tinubu considers social security policy for vulnerable Nigerians. At the top of the paper, Bello versus EFCC. Confusion as Court of Coordinate Jurisdiction ignores restraining order. Ganduje, we won't obey court order obtained by fraud, and says APC. NNPP plotting to destroy APC before 2027, says Ganduje. Ganduje has to obey court order, then appeal, says lawyers. Just to mention that if you'd like to react to any of the stories, the numbers to call will be on your TV screen. Please call and share what your thoughts are on any of these stories. We've taken some of them in the first half of the show. We took the Bello against EFCC story. We also took against the Ganduje one we took yesterday, where Oh, okay. This is not the exact one that we took yesterday. But yes, these are some of the stories that are on the front page of the Daily Independent. If I were to look at one and, to speak on one, we did speak on the court ruling on the bail application for Nnamdi Kanu, and the ruling has been sent to the 20th of May. And the one thing that we collectively agreed on is the fact that he does have rights. He has rights to legal representation to the best of his ability. You can't say that you're granting him legal representation through a strict monitoring system that might not afford him and his lawyers the confidentiality that they deserve to be able to prepare for the case. There are just so many areas to look at with regarding that case, but we hope that we wish him all the best, and we hope that come May 20th, the court shall probably start to look favorably in his direction, because he's not asking to be set free. He had even asked, his counsel had asked at some point to be transferred to Kuje prison, but the judge said she didn't trust Kuje prison's ability, especially following, ability to be able to hold prisoners, especially following the prison breakouts that we've had in Kuje prison. Yeah. But yes, that's that on Nnamdi Kanu. Any story else?
Yeah, I mean, we did speak a little bit about that earlier, and I totally agree with it. But, I think if you look at the top of the screen, there's also stories there, and for me, this really just paints a picture of, a certain group of governors from, the last administration. Yahya Bello, of course, is having his going-ins with the EFCC. The former governor of Kano State having pretty much the same thing, Abdullahi Ganduje. And so, it feels, like, of course, we mentioned Kaduna State governor also.
In one state, the governor is not supporting the
exactly. The current governor is not protecting. Very true.
And in this one, there's a protection.
But nobody is shocked, to see Governor Ododo behave that way, because we first of all, had been, stunned with those videos and pictures of him kneeling down to thank the former governor, and spell allegiance, to him right after the elections, which was very shocking. But Nigerians, saw that as well. He assisted you to win the election, so it's not necessarily surprising that you're pledging your loyalties to him. But it's still a very, very, very shocking or disgusting thing to see from one governor to the other. But like I said, it paints a picture of where those governors are from previous administration, having their issues with the EFCC currently. There's some other stories that we can find on the Daily Independent. The story from Peter Obi saying 13,000 megawatts from 200,000 megawatts demands unacceptable. Says Nigeria has the lowest per capita wattage in the world, which is very true, and we've continued to raise these questions year after year and administration after administration. Which administration, I spoke about this a few weeks ago, that which administration will take it upon themselves that their main target is to increase Nigeria's electricity generation. Because everybody agrees and accepts the benefits that will give to Nigeria's economy and Nigeria's per capita income, per capita wattage, whichever one it is. Steady electricity will greatly improve on the living standards, human capital development, and every other standard of living and of doing business of the average Nigerian. Why can't we have something as simple as that? And which administration will take it upon themselves? I was questioning a few weeks ago Adelabu, the Minister for Power, and I was asking, is it one of the things that he is concerned about? Is he saying to himself that this is where I am with electricity? The same way, Cardoso and Wale do, of course, know what the situation that they met with the economy. And Cardoso is saying to himself, okay, I'm going to have to do my best to ensure that the Naira comes down to 500 or 600 or 700, regardless of what it would cost. Is Adelabu also saying to himself that I would do what it takes to ensure that the electricity generation in the time that I'm Minister for Power increases to 25,000 or 30,000, and not just generation, distribution also, that we can distribute 20,000, 30,000 megawatts of electricity in the time that I'm there. Because while you're a Minister for Power, Nigeria's power grid continues to collapse every 4 market days. And there's no shame, like you should be ashamed that this is a ministry that I handle. And we still have not, in the time that I've been there, been able to solve the issue of the national grid collapsing.
I think it's also, I will go back to what I've always said here, that in the manner in which we appoint our ministers, that we should review it. We should review the legal provision for how we appoint them, such that you know before you get into office what portfolio you're being screened for, so that we can hold them to account. Nigeria has had power problems for years. From the time of our parents, they were shouting up NEPA. We were shouting up NEPA too. Our children are experiencing load shedding in different variations as well, right? Our children, well, in some measure, yeah, in some measure. But what I'm trying to say in essence is, when you're then appointing people to be a part of this cabinet, person A already knows, I'm going into the power sector. Okay, this is a very challenging sector. If I cannot handle it before getting, I can quickly just turn it down, so I don't go there and do a shoddy job. But if I can, I will then explain to the people of Nigeria at the point where I'm screening that I'm aware of the current challenges. Because what we see is a number of people, even the current administration at the federal level, will come and tell you, oh, we didn't know, it's very bad. What we met was very bad. We've seen that happening with Ubasani. Oh, we inherited a lot of debt. There's a lot of spending. Give us information that lets us know that you are aware, so that you don't come in 4 months and tell us, oh, what I met was really terrible. And then you now share with us a plan. By the end of Q1 of my time here, this is what I would have achieved.
Exactly.
I would ensure that our power challenges are solved to this degree. By the end of first half of the year, this is what we'll have achieved. Because right now we don't really know a lot of what to expect.
I'm not expecting miracle. It's not magic. It's not going to be rocket science. I'm not expecting,
take a while, of course.
Yes, that there is a magic wand that Mr. Adelabu has, that he's going to just
open his mouth and say, let them
exactly. That's not what's going to happen. But can we have him, share a plan, an actual, achievable plan, that this is where we will be in the next 2 years. These are the investments that we're expecting. Let's speak with Tunji calling from Lagos. Good morning, Tunji.
Hello, Tunji, are you there with us? If you are, please turn down the volume of your TV set and continue with your contribution.
Oh, apologies. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right, so I was saying, I think the EFCC is soft, because they've been arresting these famous people that we all know, Obi Kubana, Bobrisky, and the rest of them, but they can't pick up a governor. I don't really think they are ready to fight corruption with the way that they are moving. They are not moving with decisiveness. It doesn't just make any sense to me. That's my own piece on the matter.
Very much for sharing.
Right.
We'll be taking that story even more, because Nigerians have reacted, a lot of them in similar ways to Tunji have, on X. So we'll be taking some of their tweets when we look at what Nigerians are saying and share some of the topics there. But I think that's all that we can take for the Daily Independent newspaper. Let's move over to The Punch.
All right. The Punch newspaper comes up next. It says there, El Rufai, marketers' fuel subsidy claims wrong, says federal government and the NNPC. El Rufai and marketers' fuel subsidy claims wrong. Bring evidence of subsidy payment. Local Biri tells El Rufai and marketers. NNPC insists it is recovering full cost. Marketers peg petrol at 900 naira per litre. And, it just sounds, conflicting, that in one breath, we say, or they're saying that El Rufai is wrong. They're no longer paying subsidy. And in the same breath, marketers are saying that petrol should be 900 naira per litre. We are currently buying petrol at 600 naira per litre. So, if we're being realistic, or what really should be the realistic price of petrol, when the dollar price was as high as 1,700, 1,800 naira per litre, and we're still importing petrol back then, who was paying the extra? Because the price cannot just be pegged at 600 naira or 640 naira. Places that some of them are 650. There's a differential that must be paid as the dollar increases, because that has always been their argument. That the landing cost of petrol, seemingly somehow is determined by the cost of the price of the dollar.
All right.
Good morning, Kola Wale, also from Lagos. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. On the electricity tariff, I don't think that minister can deliver. That minister cannot deliver. We have people like Professor Batnaji, who has given a state capital 24/7 power supply. The man has done it when he was in the ECN of Nigeria. They should go and call him back. This is now time to play with politics again. I have witnessed power shortage from 1981 when I was posted to Bauchi State. 1981, when I gave birth to my first daughter, we couldn't get electricity at Lut. That affected my daughter till today because he was put in the incubator and they could not regulate the incubator because there was no power. And that my daughter till today is only seeing with one eye. Which country are we? That my daughter age now, calculated 1981 to today, Nigeria cannot generate enough power supply. We should wake up. Thank you. Good morning.
I'm sorry to hear that story.
Yeah,
that's a really, really heartbreaking story.
Really sad story.
But, he's talking from 1981. There's, of course, people who can share theirs from 1970 something.
And in 2024, the same problems
exactly that we still
are still plaguing our country. So what exactly are we doing? What are our leaders doing? Do we not have shame?
I remember a former Lagos State governor, when he was Minister for Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola. I remember that he made very bold statements about how, anybody who cannot fix power in 1 or 2 years or something like that, is unserious or should be stoned. I don't remember what the words were. I remember all those promises in the previous administration. He's currently, of course, still somehow, some way, you're now an active member of the APC after failing, to fix the same electricity, that he was in charge of. But is anybody calling him, is anybody reminding him every day that he failed to fix the power that he was very bold speaking about? And so I hope, even if not very many people are expectant, Mr. Kolawole just mentioned now that he doesn't have any confidence in the current Minister of Power. But I'm hoping that they, within themselves, when they have their FEC meetings, are having these discussions and telling themselves that these are things that we must not fail Nigerians at. Between now and 2027, can certain aspects at least be put in motion to ensure that we improve on Nigeria's electricity generation, increase distribution in the next couple of years. There has to be something, that we can boast of and beat our chest with that they achieved in the current administration. If it is security, if it's electricity, if it's the economy, if it's with the Naira, something.
With the fuel subsidy.
But this cannot just be permanently Nigeria's story with regards to electricity distribution. It can't be.
Well, anyway, let's move away from there to our next paper. We're still taking more calls, but let's look at the next paper, which is Daily Trust newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, we can see the big story there. Governors Atiku Wike test strength as PDP NEC meeting holds today. Ayu withdraws suit against party. NWC passes vote of confidence on Damagun. North Central insists on completing Ayu's term. Still on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, bandits abduct dozens of villagers in Kaduna community again. Customs officer lynched in Katsina for shooting passenger. Uncertainty over Ondo APC primary as court affirms Ganduje's suspension, as two courts issue conflicting orders on his arrest. Local government chairmen, councillors decry removal plot as Kaduna Assembly trims tenure. BDC is now buying dollar at 980 naira, APCON president says. EFCC siege, Ododo smuggles Yahaya Bello out amid gunshots. We have Prince calling from Cross River State. Good morning, Prince. Thank you very much for calling. Please go ahead with your comment.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Turn down the volume of your TV set and go ahead with your comment.
Good morning. Hello?
All right, Prince, we will have you please call us back, but when you do, please turn down the volume of your TV set and to subsequent callers, because when you don't do that, it affects the call and we might have to disconnect.
Yeah.
All right, looking at the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, very interesting one. We did take the Ododo story. That was in the first half of the show where we talked about the current governor smuggling or whisking away the last governor. And basically we talked about how this gives off a picture of their immunity. I mean, I guess that it's, you're presenting an immunity clause that lasts beyond term as governor. Yeah. This is why godfatherism is still a thing, it's still a culture, because a number of these governors want to put people who would succeed them and cover their tracks so that when investigations are being carried out, they will look the other way and they will ensure that there's some level of coverage and protection that is afforded them.
Yeah, I think it's important, so two things that I will quickly mention, is, I mean, and not to sound like a broken record with regards to the electricity issue. I remember yesterday I was listening to, I think it was a podcast, and someone made mention of one of the things that China uses to laugh at the United States, is that since the 60s or in the 70s or, in the last, 4 or 5 decades, while the United States has spent all its resources fighting wars and creating wars across the world, that China used that time to invest in infrastructure and build rail lines across the whole of China. And right now they have one of the world's biggest rail networks. That's what they achieved in that time. And I'm sharing that because Nigeria itself has had enough time, has had enough of the resources to be able to achieve something that will beat our chest and say, okay, we achieved 100,000 megawatts of electricity in the last 20 years. We achieved some of the greatest road networks on the continent in the last 20 years. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing that can beat our chest over and say, okay, this is one thing with regards to infrastructural development that we achieved in the last 20, 30 years. There's that. I mean, I feel like, yes, sound like a broken record at the risk of that. It's disappointing. It's really, really disappointing. But the Daily Trust, there's a major story there. The PDP's NEC meeting, which holds today. A lot of people are expecting that it will come with loads of drama. With the vote of confidence that has been passed on Damagun, we would like to see, if maybe Nyesom Wike will be suspended or not. If there would be further details from the NEC meeting. I'm actually looking forward to the drama from the PDP's NEC meeting today.
60 members of the House of Representatives had called for Damagun to be removed. I think it was on Tuesday. But now we're seeing that strong statements have been made in that regard. His position has been affirmed. So it will be interesting. I'm actually looking forward to seeing the outcome of this meeting. And like you've mentioned, Nyesom Wike's position, because he's the one person who has successfully wriggled his way between both parties, being a card-carrying member of one, working for another, quote-unquote, working for, right? So
and currently serving, under another party.
Under another party. So.
But I mean, it's pretty obvious that this is NEC meeting today would be, like the Daily Trust has said it, a show of strength between the governors, Atiku Abubakar and Nyesom Wike. Everybody, and their little factions here and there, and their interests, will come out to play today. So we'll see how this turns out. Bandits abduct dozens of villagers in Kaduna community. We spoke about Benue yesterday, where it says that about 28 people were killed in a community in Benue State. That was in the news yesterday. Today we're talking about Kaduna State. So we obviously still have, to some extent, a level of insecurity that the country is still dealing with. As much as we would give kudos to the Nigerian army and to the Nigerian security agencies generally for what they've achieved in the last couple of years, there's still so much work that needs to be done to make Nigerians feel safer before we even get to the level of our community policing, before we even get to the level of the little details with regards to internal security. There's still so much work that needs to be done. We're still taking your calls. You can quickly join us, share your views with us on any of these stories, from Yahya Bello to Nigeria's electricity generation, and its very pitiable situation. And of course, to the PDP's NEC meeting,
and then the story
which of course takes place today.
I'm sure that you wouldn't miss that because your Which Way Nigeria, yesterday's episode was directed at Nigerian Customs. And here we're seeing customs officer lynched in Katsina for shooting passenger. And the report from this story was that the driver of an overloaded truck with goods was asked to stop, and he was asked to they wanted to search, to do the routine stop and search, but he wouldn't stop. So he kept on moving. And in the course of moving, the customs officer shot at the vehicle. And in the course of shooting, a passenger died. So the angry mob went after this custom officer who ran into the bush and caught him and lynched him to death. That's what the reports are saying. It's very unfortunate, right? Whilst we understand that they have the right to stop and search, there should also be an appropriate level of force that should be meted out when trying to ensure that you are carrying out your right to stop and search. So if you are trying to stop and search and the vehicle doesn't stop, why shoot directly at the boss?
Well, you know? I mean, you know, from that story, we've lost 2 lives.
Yeah.
To the, poor training of, customs officer or high-handedness of a customs officer. 2 lives have been lost. The one that was shot and the one that was lynched. Sad.
Very sad.
CBN, let's move to the Vanguard newspaper quickly. I think we have just a few stories that we can share there before we wrap this up. The CBN not using reserves to defend Naira, says Cardoso. He was speaking yesterday, I think it was in New York, I know it was outside Nigeria, at a conference that was being held, Yemi Cardoso. I watched the video clip where he was saying that the depletion of the foreign reserves wasn't because it was being used to defend the Naira alone.
We talked about
that is, yes, he said that it was more, largely also because of the payment of debts, foreign debt that that the country was owing. And there was nothing really strange about depletion of foreign reserves, that it's never a static state, or rather rate, that you don't have foreign reserves at $100,000, $100 billion rather, and then that's it. That sometimes it will come down, sometimes it will go higher, and so nobody should really be alarmed with the idea that, our foreign reserves seem to be dipping, and there were projections by the IMF, that it would drop to as low as $24 billion, I believe, by next year, 2025, I believe. So he was basically explaining that there's nothing strange about foreign reserves dipping, and that what we currently we're doing, we're hoping that at some point the Naira will stabilize, and of course, they wouldn't need to continue to defend the Naira with the ways that they're currently defending it, to fight for itself, as a man that it is. That's what he was saying yesterday. So we will see how things turn out. Of course, they have some time to hope that their policies and the steps that they are taking actually work out well. Also on the Vanguard this morning, coalition threat. PDP governors move to avert implosion. Train 8 rather, contract dispute threatens Nigeria LNG expansion plans. Rising price of foodstuff. FCC PC deploy operators to markets. Electricity tariff hike, 65% of businesses may shut down, says OPS. We can also find here those threatening Nigeria's sovereignty have a price to pay, says President Tinubu. And also killings. Benue communities protest herdsmen attacks. One grazing law strictly enforced. I think we can also find here Ganduje kicks as Kano court affirms his suspension. I'm not sure what that means. Does he then obviously step down as the chairman of the APC in Nigeria, or will he continue to hold on? Because he's saying that he does not respect court orders. There's one of the newspapers that took it, that it says, yes, on the Daily Independent, it says we won't obey court orders obtained by fraud. That's with regards to Ganduje. Of course, once again, on the Vanguard newspapers this morning, it says Ganduje kicks as Kano court affirms his suspension. It's just more and more and more drama going on with the APC and the APC's chairman, in the last couple of days and weeks. But these are the major stories on the Vanguard newspapers this morning. I think some of them that really caught our attention have to be the issue with the governor of Kogi State defending his predecessor, Yahya Bello, and of course, the issues concerning Nigeria's electricity generation, as stated by former Anambra State Governor and of course the Labour Party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi, saying Nigeria has the lowest per capita wattage in the world.
I think the story that stands out for me
13,000.
on the Vanguard, the story that stands out for me is the first one at the top, electricity tariff hike. 65% of businesses may shut down according to OPS, because for me it's like, what does that mean for Nigeria's economy? We know the strength of SMEs and how important they are to the growth and development of the economy. So if 65% of these businesses shut down, what do we have left? Where are we heading?
Yeah.
It's screaming chaos and anarchy, and I'm just hoping that these predictions are just some sort of warning, so that our government and regulatory bodies can put measures in check to ensure that these predictions don't come true. Because if they do, we're in trouble.
Very true.
Anyway, so that's all that we can take this morning. We want to say a very big thank you to everyone who's joined us for the newspaper reviews. For those who called in, thank you very much for joining us. Remember, we do this every weekday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. We review the papers in the second hour of the show. For now, we're going to break. When we come back, we'll be heading to other stories here on Breakfast Central. Over the weekend, a few Yoruba Nation members, or Mineral Yoruba, a small separatist group, started using guns against the Nigerian government. The gang attempted to hoist the flag of the Yoruba Nation and pull down the Nigerian flag by invading the House of Assembly and the governor's office in Ibadan, Oyo State. Despite the fact that the police and all the security personnel stopped the action, 29 accused agitators, among them a purported lecturer, were paraded.
The apprehended victims were on Wednesday arraigned on a 7-count charge bordering on treasonable felony, unlawful society, illegal possession of firearms, going armed, and of course a conduct likely to cause breach of peace before an Ibadan magistrate court for their involvement and roles in the aborted invasion of the Oyo State Government Secretariat on Saturday, April 13th. Consequently, their action has garnered attention and condemnation, as they have been seen not to be representing the interests of the Yoruba race. Joining us to discuss this is Mr. Fatai Owosheni, the former CP of Lagos State. Good morning and thanks for joining us, Mr. Owosheni.
Good morning to you.
Good to have you join us. You know, I raised this question earlier in the week that we've seen agitations in different parts of the country, including in the southeast, with the emergence and, of course, very scary growth of the IPOB and the ESN that were accused of carrying out very, very dastardly acts across the southeast. What do you think might be birthing this violence in the Yoruba Nation agitators and the emergence of this level of agitation in the southwest?
I think those people that were involved will be in a better position to say what could have motivated them. But at the same time, analyzing the situation, within the Yoruba Nation movement as well, they have different groups. They've splintered. Professor, what I just forgot the name now, is leading one. They said Sunday Igboho is leading one. And this one that is emerging, that seems to be spearheaded by the so-called Mrs. Onitiri Abiola, just Professor Akintoye, the other one.
Akintoye, yes.
So this one just came up, and of course, what I would call unnecessary courage, and of course, probably a push by only God knows, maybe like I'd mentioned in earlier interviews, hypnotize some people, get some people psyched up, and of course, also give them a makeshift belief that maybe some kind of charms will work for them, and senselessly, and I emphasize it, decided to confront a system that is in operation. Why did I call it unnecessary courage? Why did I call it senseless? If you are putting a motley number of people together who weren't even, so trained to say you want to establish another country, a Yoruba nation, and you had come to a place like Ibadan, in this seat of government, and you also believe that when you take over the place, you have taken over the whole of the Yoruba state. We're talking of 6 states. You are thinking that when you get into the secretariat, you have the control of government apparatus. That is why I call it senseless, a kind of madness. And I will keep on saying it. People that seems to have been, laced, maybe what is given to them has been laced with some cheap drugs somewhere. Because there is no other way to explain such unnecessary and senseless courage to say you can do that and go away with it. And in a place like Ibadan, where structures are strongly in place. So that's the way I can probably summarize what could have, motivated these people. And I've also likened it to where some religious people, Guyana tragedy in the US, where some fellows ask people to come and be doing all sorts of things, sell their properties, and bring the money to his church, as exchange that they already gained salvation. In Nigeria, you've had the Maryland, the Jesu Oyinbo tragedy, where people's wives, are being coveted and all those things. Where promises will be made to say, oh, when you do this, you also have the Boko Haram thing, where they will tell you that if you do this, you are going to Aljana. And I do mind, can easily be turned into that poverty level, joblessness, and all those things. So that is why, looking at it, it is just beyond the immediate. We also need to look at how do we get people reoriented? How do we get good role models to talk to our people? And when you're talking of Yoruba land, the Yoruba people are so sophisticated and elitist that if such a thing is going to happen, it's not just going to be that kind of senseless action that will be taken. We've seen agitations before. We've seen women who led revolts in this country. Yeah. The late Mama Fumilayo Ransome-Kuti, Efun Shetan in Ibadan. We've heard of the woman that led the riots in Aba and all those things. So we are not that senseless in this country. Right. But if people are even agitating and they want to secede, it's that kind of senseless action they will pull up.
You've talked about how there might be some element of religious indoctrination at play here, but it would seem there's also, some element of using poverty as a weapon for mass or for manipulation of the people. A lady by the name Rafiat, who was one of those apprehended, gave an account of how she was approached to do this because she was told that if she did this, her family and her life, her future will be guaranteed. So whilst I hear you concerning, us getting role models for our people, ensuring that we have role models who can mirror the future that we ought to have, or the country and the people that we ought to have, there's also a problem. Poverty is a problem. The rising cost of living is a problem. So how do we ensure that we don't see a repeat of an incident such as this, in the nearest future?
You have put it very, very right. Poverty, joblessness. And that is a challenge to all of us, especially the people at helm of affairs in this country. And some people that have the means to give people employment. There are so many Nigerians that are trying in their own way, but we need to do more, especially in the Southwest. It's not just about going to social parties and spraying money, and of course, giving pittance and sharing food that will not last for more than one day to people. We've seen situations where some people will go to schools and say, oh, how many, they get statistics of people that are out of school. They find a way of giving them accommodation. Chifemi Otedola went to university and paid, the tuition of how many students by giving a large sum of money. So we need to have more of that. We need to have, our leaders think of more ways of how to engage people. That is one. Why do we need role models? Why do we need reorientation? We also need to talk to our people, our young people especially, that there is no fast way. There is a process. You don't jump from level 1 to 10, because some entrepreneurs will tell you, I can tell you personally, I run a farm and you put people to work. When they collect their salary, the first thing they go do is to go and drink alcohol and look for drugs. You park your car, somebody is coming to beg for money. You ask him, can you wash my car for me? He's not ready to do that. He just wants money in his pocket. And you see that when people from diasporas come, they don't know that it is sufferings over there. They think the diasporans pick dollars and pounds on the streets of UK and the United States. So our sense of entitlement, there must be a way to reorientate our people, that sense of entitlement, we must also drop it. And of course, this seasonal usage of people to use them as thugs in order to get political offices, we must find a way of reorientation. We must change a whole lot of things in this country. And of course, strengthen our intelligence capacity. We must get to the grassroots. We must be able to convince our people that if you see something, say something. Convincing them in a way that you guarantee them, you give them the confidence that they are secure when they give you information.
All right, I also want to talk about the technology. Yeah, apologies. I also want to talk about the availability, the ease with which, these groups, I'm not sure who's sponsoring them now, but the ease with which they also gain access to weapons. Because they, of course, according to reports, were firing at security agents. They were arrested with weapons also. And so, isn't that a problem also in the Southeast? Like, is the security, architecture of the Southwest, rather, already seeing that there might be a problem in the future if certain aspects of this aren't really taken seriously? The proliferation of arms, of course, has been a problem for a long time. But if these people were able to gain access to weapons, how many more people can get access to weapons?
You say in this country, a whole lot of work needs to be done. Proliferation of porous borders, and of course, people that have been militants or agitators before, being given some sort of contract to secure facilities, and they use that guise to bring in weapons. Some of our politicians taking advantage of offices to bring in weapons. These are things we need to look at. It's not just limited, but you find out that the Southwest seems to be one of the regions that have, been firmly in control of this. And it's not just people on the street, our elite, our big men, the religious leaders. How do you explain that you have some pastors or some imams preaching, and you have like about 20 people following them? Some of them carrying cut-to-size double-barrel gun. Some of them carrying pump action. When even some of the law enforcement officers and some of the people that are making laws for us in the National Assembly don't even know what categories of weapons are prohibited and the ones that are not prohibited. Because in the course of engagement with some people, when you tell them pump action is a prohibited firearm, they will argue with you. They will tell you that they have licenses. And of course, they will tell you that they got the license from the police. And I used to tell them as Commissioner of Police in Lagos, you bring a pump action to me to say you want to renew the license, I will seize it because the law allows me to seize it. That some of the avenues through which they got these licenses are not genuine, they are fake. A whole lot of vendors are bringing this in, and they will say they are selling pump action with licenses. So we also need to get the security and the law enforcement institutions to do the right thing. And of course, in order to do the right thing, there must be the political will to support them, strong political will, where everybody will be treated on the same level. Because if you count the number of pump action in this country now, it is so alarming, we are not doing anything about it. Yeah. Then, fabrication of weapons, local fabrication of weapons. There is a region of this country that the expertise with which they fabricate weapons is such alarming that if you will know that we are sitting on a keg of gunpowder. So the security apparatus, and of course with strong backing from the government, that is the federal system, to ensure that laws are enforced. We need to put that in place.
Yeah, but I mean, you used to be, Commissioner of Police for Lagos, so I'm sure you understand, to a large extent, security architecture, not just for Lagos State, but for other parts of the Southwest. We're talking about 7-8 people now that have been arrested. What, would you advise, in order for, us not to have a situation where there's another 100 people that are being recruited somewhere, that are also being armed? What kind of security steps would you advise that governors of the Southwest or commissioners of police across the Southwest start to take immediately to ensure that we do not have these groups continue to emerge, and then we see them in larger numbers until it then becomes an actual problem?
We are all in it together. One, citizens' engagement. I've mentioned that before. If you say something, you must say something. The philosophy behind modern policing is that the people are the police and the police are the people. So you must get the people engaged. It's not just about introducing technology. Human is essential. That is human intelligence. So you must be able to give people confidence. We must solve, to an extent, the poverty problem, the joblessness problem, and of course, we must keep engaging our people, especially the young ones, including the elderly. There is an old man among the people that was arrested who said, I'm a carpenter, a bricklayer. For the past 2 years, no work to do and whatever. And some people had approached us. Some of them don't even know each other. They said we should be coming to meet in Ogbomoso, and that if we are able to take over the reign of government, there will be plenty job. It will be all good life for us. So people like that who probably go to sleep, they wake up, go to sleep without anything to eat. Some that are, sufficiently qualified that don't have job. We must address that poverty problem, joblessness problem, and of course, engagement with our young people with regards to value reorientation. We must drop sense of entitlement. We must know that one thing leads to the other. You don't just sit back and expect food on your table. The ones that are engaged too, that seem to be lackadaisical, they must know that you cannot just get that rich quick without putting some effort. Even if you japa, if you go to the US, if you go to the UK, if you don't do any work, you will die of hunger. So but the government must also look the way of alleviating all this. That is very key.
Yeah, to a large extent, there's most of the things you mentioned are citizen responsibilities, to not, of course, want to get rich too quick and involve yourself in crime. But what I'm pointing out here is, is that there is a role that security agencies must play with intelligence gathering, with being able to nip this thing at the bud, being able to know who might be sponsoring these people. It's the role of security agencies, and I don't know if they're, currently on top of their game with regards to this, because these people had already approached the Oyo State government house before they were found.
Look, no matter the number of security personnel you have, if you leave the people behind, you will not succeed. The people must be involved. That is number one. Even the security agencies that you are talking of, how many do we have? The police that has the primacy in internal security, how many of them do you have? What is the sophistication of tools that are provided for them? And if you pull all together, and I can talk of the police because I was a policeman for 35 years, what is the motivation you have given them? When in this country, I don't know if things have changed now. As Commissioner of Police in Lagos State, I said, and I'll continue to repeat it without fear of anything, that you have a divisional police officer like an Ikeja police division that has an area of responsibility that's so large, and what you use to fund that police division is 30,000 naira in 3 months. Hell, to do what? When you have a police system where an average constable had to struggle to feed, to buy his uniform, where you have a policeman that is posted from Jigawa to Ikorodu in Lagos, and there is no accommodation for him or anything, that sleeps inside exhibit vehicles in the police station, and the people that rule us, that have the reign of power, will come out shamelessly to say that policemen stink. How will that policeman not stink? He sleeps inside the exhibit vehicle every morning. He looks for pure water because he has no family in Ikorodu and is transferred from Jigawa. So where do you go from there? So even when we talk of state police, it is not about who controls the police, it's the tools. When you see police in America, in the UK, you see them looking big, looking well fed. It is the tools that we provide. So these are the things we must solve. It's not just about condemning the gap and the failure of security personnel. You must take care of them. You must provide the enabling environment and the tools for them to work.
Mr. Wasani, thank you so much for your time with us, for speaking so clearly and truthfully, and we certainly would continue to speak about the welfare of the Nigerian police, because as much as we expect a lot from them, we expect that they also be given a lot in return. So thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. This week, I want to say thank you very much for joining us. I am Olive EMODI.
And I am OSAROGIE. See you tomorrow.